Hello, welcome to DO Real Stories. Please subscribe my channel. It first started last year when we all gathered at my boyfriend's family home for their annual grand dinner. He introduced himself as Keith, offering a gentle handshake and a warm smile accompanying it. We had not had any more of a conversation for the rest of the night, as I was swayed left and right, meeting Cole's near and distant relatives, being introduced as the one. It was an important occasion for us, as Cole had mentioned a few weeks prior that he could see his whole life with me. I remember being elated at the thought, but also knew for some reason that I wasn't ready to get married anytime soon. I had not said this out loud to him because I didn't know my reasons. I didn't know what was stopping me, and then I met Keith. Little did I know that soon enough my life, as I knew it was about to unravel. Over the course of the next few months, we took more affirming steps for our relationship. Cole and I had moved in together in a brand new apartment curated to my every wish. He always made sure that I got everything I wanted, and it wasn't hard for him to do so with the aid of his wealthy background and his own thriving business. Luxury and being spoiled were just some of the perks being with Cole, and yet it felt as if something was always missing. Cole was adamant that I spend more time with his family, as they wanted to get to know me better. Family was his priority, and to him probably as important in his life as I was becoming. That was a feeling unknown to me. My mother had been absent most of my life, coming and going as she pleased, as I stayed with my spinster aunt for most of my childhood, and my father was never really around. I only knew his name, despite my own lack of understanding for why family could ever be so important. Respecting Cole's wishes, I put in the effort and frequented family events whenever the chance arose. It would have been a lie not to admit that I was curious about running into Keith again. Something about him was stuck in my mind, whether it was the look he had given me the only time we had met, or the way his hands felt when he shook mine. I was earning more. The numerous short visits to Cole's parents' house were uneventful. Keith had been away for a business trip, and I had finally convinced myself to rid myself of this dangerous interest. Yet soon after this proposition, I once again found myself in his presence, and my principles were shaken. A few weeks had passed after we had finally completed settling into our new place. It had taken much longer than I expected to get those little tweaks and adjustments just right, and being such a self-proclaimed perfectionist didn't really help. Cole's parents had called us earlier in the week to invite us for a casual dinner celebrating their anniversary. It was an occasion we had to attend. I dressed myself up to the tens, wearing a dress that lightly brushed the ground with a slit for my leg to show through, and a neckline I and many others I knew would adore. Cole had always complimented my collar bones, and I was not shy to wear them. Well, we arrived at the main doors of what was no short of a mansion, and before we could knock or ring the bell, the door opened for us as the butler welcomed us in. Although I had been here many times before, the experience always felt strangely new. We walked in together, Cole loosely holding me around my waist as we greeted everyone there. Clearly the definition of casual still meant formal and grand. For a minute I had forgotten about Keith, having not seen him since the last and first time. I wasn't sure what it was I was holding out hope for. Anyways, as Cole was talking, looking to some well-established gentleman, I could feel someone looking at me through the corner of my eye. I could see him looking directly at me. He was playing the game of looking at me through stolen glimpses, making sure no one would notice. The hair on my neck would stand whenever I did catch his lingering gaze. In that moment, I knew I wasn't the only one intrigued. Uncle K. "Eth, welcome back home," Cole greeted loudly across the room, making his way to him and dragging me along. "Cole, thank you. Hello again, Amanda. Hope you both are well," Keith replied before taking my hand and giving it a soft peck. "He has always been such a gentleman," Cole laughed, unaware that his uncle had lit a small fire in me. "I would hardly say so," Keith replied back humbly, smirking. "How have the lovely couple been? Any new changes?" He continued, looking at me with his eyebrows raised. "Yes, actually, Amanda and I have moved into our own place. I would say we are fully settled in, but the garden could use some loving," Cole answered. "Admittedly, is that so? I'm not traveling again anytime soon. Do you want me to have a go at it and put my green thumb to use?" Keith offered, although I doubted his intention. "Are you sure? I wouldn't want to bother you, but between my busy schedule and Amanda's need for perfection, maybe you are our only choice," Cole joked. "Of course, it's the least I could do," Keith said before taking a sip of his drink. "Well, it's done, then I'll let Amanda figure out the times and whatnot. You'd be doing us a great favor." Cole thanked him. I could already feel trouble. We thanked Keith again and had already moved on to the next relatives for conversation. My uneasiness and excitement was rising up. My skin was prickly hot and I was trying to keep my composure. His uncle till date had not given me any reason to feel this way. We had never been alone, never talked without Cole present. He hadn't touched me or flirted with me, and yet I was feeling desired by what he would indicate with just his eyes. When he would look at me, I excused myself from the group around us and headed down a long hallway to a guest bathroom I knew was included. I closed the door shut behind me and looked in the mirror, trying to make sense of it all. He was good-looking, tall, and probably 20 years older than me, if not a little more. His hair was thick, wavy and brown. His eyes were green, light enough to know exactly which air he was focused. My reasoning was vain. I evidently found him very attractive, and prior to having met Cole, I would normally date older men. Was this why I was so drawn to Keith? My thoughts were interrupted with a knock at the door. "Are you all right, Amanda?" the voice asked from the other side of the door. Concerningly, Yes, I'm fine," I answered back, unsure of who it was. I opened the door slightly to take a peek and was immediately caught off guard. "Do you want to come out, or better yet, can I come in?" Keith asked boldly, as if he could read my mind. I stuttered, opening the door wider for him, checking to see if no one else would see us. "I know you feel it too," he whispered, walking in and shutting the door behind us. "I could tell by the way you shy away from looking at me," he continued. "I don't know what you mean," I lied, feeling the heat rise as he walked closer up to me. "I think you do," he smirked before he held me by my waist and pulled me close to him. I could feel his chest against mine, but I didn't want to push him away. "What is it? Do you think I want?" I whispered softly, playing along and enjoying his wit. "This," he replied before he kissed me deep and passionately. His touch was electric. I could feel my skin beg for it to never stop. His tight grip kept me pressed against him as we kissed long, neither of us wanting to let go before it could escalate any further. A knock on the door nearly made my heart stop. Instinctively we parted lips, and I covered his mouth with my hand to make sure he did not make a sound. "The bathroom is occupied," I answered in a shaky tone, waiting for the thrill to simmer down. "Oh, I apologize," someone answered back. I waited for the footsteps to sound lighter and lighter. "I should go. Cole will be wondering where I am," I said to Keith, freeing myself from his arms and pulling my dress down to adjust it. "You should you go first," he replied in his deep, assuring voice. "I won't forget that kiss," he added, smiling back at me as I prepared to walk out. Looking at him standing there, all I wanted to do was finish what had started, but I knew I couldn't. It was too risky. This was not the time or the place. I'll see you around, I replied in a flirtatious manner, wiping the last of my smudged lipstick before I carefully exited the bathroom and walked back, looking for Cole. Where have you been? Are you okay? Cole asked, obviously concerned. I'm fine, sorry, I was feeling unwell, but I'm okay now, I lied, hoping it would explain that I may have looked out of sorts. Your face is red, you sure you're still not feeling ill? He asked. Yes, I'm sure. I'll let you know if I need to go home, I promise, I replied back, assuring, and kissed him on the cheek, hoping the guilt wouldn't kick in just yet so I could revel in the pleasure I had just received from Keith. It was very out of character of me. I had never done something like this in my entire life. Cole was my second serious boyfriend. No one else had ever come close. I didn't want to sabotage what we had. Everything was good in our relationship. We had mutual love, respect, a great apartment. He wanted to marry me, but suddenly it hit me what it was I felt was missing with him. We didn't have any excitement in our relationship. Everything was safe, calm, and predictable. I wanted to feel the adrenaline, the thrill of something risky, and now I had a way to do it. It had been planned that Keith would be coming over the next week to help us with our garden. Fortunately, he would be coming around when Cole would be at work, as there was nothing that could be done in the dark. The doorbell rang in the late afternoon, and Cole answered the door. Good morning, Uncle Keith. Thank you again for helping us out. Cole welcomed him. And don't mention it, his uncle replied, smiling at me. My cheeks felt hot already. I would have loved to help you, but I have a full day of important meetings. Hopefully you can stay around for dinner and I can thank you properly then. Cole explained. I would love to, but I don't think I will be that long. I've got most of the stuff I need already here with me. We'll see how it goes, Keith responded. After a few more pleasantries were exchanged, Keith took his tools towards the garden and began working. Cole kissed me goodbye, gathered his things, and left. In the next few minutes, I locked the door behind him and heard his car leave the garage before I could turn around. I felt hands on me, hands that knew my body now. It was as if they were sculpting me. My body was slightly pressed against the door, and I could hear his heavy breathing on my neck. Where I loved it. I was in a trance, consumed with wanting not just more but all of it. I've waited too long to do this, Keith whispered into my ear. I could feel that I was losing all control. Willingly he kissed me on my neck, and when neither of us could take it anymore, he turned me around to kiss me on my lips with the same passion he had the first time around. We played this game of fire as he led me towards the couch. We kissed more and more. I couldn't get enough. I was so lost in the moment, following his every move with something of my own, letting him lead me to wherever it was he wanted to take me. I had never been this way with Cole. He wasn't the dominant type, and I could no longer lie to myself that it was this kind of man I truly desired. It must have been hours of passion and unhinged desire as the sky outside went from daylight to the sun starting to go down. I didn't want to move off of him from the couch that had taken the brunt of us. That was amazing, I whispered, lying on his chest, feeling satisfied. We had to finish what we had started that day at the party. You had me under a spell, he whispered back, kissing me softly on my lips. I'm glad you did. I haven't felt this kind of thrill in a very long time. I admitted honestly I would be happy to do it again and again, he said in a suggestive manner. I kissed him again. If you want to do it again, you should probably get some work done and get out of here, I laughed. I'm going to hop in the show and when I come back down you should be gone, I continued, not wanting to expose ourselves so soon or risk Cole walking in. Yes, ma'am, anything you say, he replied back obediently. We cleaned up the area we had made a mess of, and I rushed upstairs to wash his scent off of me. Keith went to do as much as He could in the yard before he had to go when I walked back down after my long and thorough shower. He was gone. I looked around to check that the place looked like nothing had happened when I noticed a little note on the kitchen countertop. It read, "Passion begins and starts with you." I smiled reading the note and slipped it into my pocket. It was just in time as I heard Cole's car parking in the garage. "Honey, I'm home," Cole greeted, walking up to me and kissing me. "Hello, honey," I replied, still reeling in what had happened this afternoon. "Did you have a good day with Keith?" he asked. "I had a very good day with Keith," I replied, knowing he'll never know what I really meant, and I intended to keep it that way. And so ends my confession of infidelity. I would like to know your opinion. Do you agree with what I did? How would you have reacted? I want to read you. Please. Thank you very much for supporting me.